I'm Larry Ray, President and CEO of American Manganese Inc., listed on the TSX Venture, ticker symbol AMY, A-M-Y, with proprietary patents in the U.S., China, and South Africa. Our focus is on recycling lithium-ion batteries for electric vehicles. China recently legislated the responsibility for recycling onto their electric vehicle manufacturers and importers. For more information, please visit AmericanManganeseInc.com or phone me, Larry Ray, at 778-574-4444.
Welcome to the Goddard Report. Comments made on the Goddard Report and TalkDigitalNetwork.com are an expression of opinion only. Here is Jim Goddard.
My guest is David Chesney, White Rock City Councillor and editor of the White Rock Sun. Welcome to the show, David.
Well, thank you very much, Jim. Nice to be back with you. And before we go, let's reverse the tables, and I'd like to ask you, tell me a bit about your trip to White Rock on the weekend. On Saturday night, you were involved in a wonderful event. Quickly tell me a bit about that.
The Just Believe Foundation is there to support people in the arts. And now, what's the arts? Entertainment. We had a 12-year-old kid do a stand-up routine. We had a fundraising concert at the Elks Hall. Some great talent there, musically, poetry. And the whole idea of the Just Believe Foundation is to support people. If you're an artist, if you have an idea about writing a book but want to know how, we have artists, we have writers who will help you do that. So the whole idea was to raise money to help folks who want to maybe learn how to paint. Or you are a painter, how do you go to the next step? How do you become a professional painter? Well, we'll help you out. The Just Believe Foundation's executive director, Delaney Rose, great songwriter and musician, singer, and she's the executive director of the foundation. We've just started up. I'm the vice president, and my job basically is just to talk to people about it, make people aware of the Just Believe Foundation. We're brand new. We've only been around for a couple of months, but already the artistic community is really throwing their weight behind it. You're a mentor. That's what we really do, is we try to match people up with folks who know what they're doing and have done all this stuff. So why go and bash around in the dark and make mistakes that you don't have to make? We can help you out. So we're on Facebook, the Just Believe Foundation. Look it up. And if you want to be somebody who wants a little more help with your artistic abilities, all the way from, like I said, we have a 12-year-old kid who's a stand-up comedian, and he's one of our people. He's getting help with us, and we're giving him some writing tips with his comedy. If you're a musician, we have lots of musicians lined up to help out. We have contacts in the industry. So really, it's a grassroots foundation where people always wonder, I'd like to help people out. People need help. Well, we connect them.
Oh, excellent. And you say we. Am I assuming that you are going to take an active role with this group?
Well, I'm the vice president, and like most vice presidents, I'm waiting to be assigned projects and so on. We're brand new. Delaney, as the executive director, does most of the work and has surrounded herself with a lot of experts to make sure we don't make mistakes, because we're here to help people not make them.
Oh, good. All right. Well, we'll check that out, and certainly Delaney Rose is no stranger to the people here in White Rock. Been an entertainer on the peninsula for years, and turns up very often at a lot of events around our community. So very good. I wish you the best of luck.
Right. And what happened at your community conversation on Saturday?
Cookies happened.
Cookies.
I'm not being facetious. Actually, one of the ladies that attends quite often whenever her mother is in town visiting from Orillia, Ontario, likes to come and sit and join into the meetings, and she brought a great big tub of cookies for everybody. So it kind of added a homey touch to the event. It was a good one. It was, as the weather gets better and it being Mother's Day weekend, our attendance was down a bit, but as I've said often, it's not the quantity, it's the quality, and some very good discussion ongoing about, the big items seem to not change much in White Rock, future development, where and how and when, and ongoing, still a lot of pushback regarding what happened with the hump, why were all the trees taken down, What does the city actually have planned? Why is it going to be a 3-year project or a 4-year project to replant the hump? A lot of questions, and the city hopefully will be able to address those and answer those in the very near future, because there's still a lot of questions. But as we speak, I walked by there on the weekend, and anybody that has ever tried to get rid of blackberry plants, which was, the main outside of the trees that were taken down, the vast majority of that hillside has always been covered in blackberries, and they're back with a vengeance. They probably one of the fastest growing plants I think known to mankind.
Right, I call them nature's barbed wire.
Yeah, well, the funny thing is that it's in some cases they're actually used for slope stability. Again, anybody that's tried to rid themselves of blackberry bushes, some of their root systems will go down 6 feet into the ground. And if you've got one little piece of a cane or just a small little sliver left, they're going to be back. So right now the city has said that they're planning on taking them out by hand because they don't want to soak the hillside down with pesticides. Yet, actually, quite synchronistically, this week BNSF will do their annual vegetation control along their whole rail line and spray our waterfront right straight through from the U.S. border all the way to New Westminster to keep the vegetation back away from the train tracks. So it's kind of a double standard there. If BNSF is comfortable using pesticides that they claim are not endangering the public safety, one would have to question why the move to not simply use that same pesticide if this is in fact what we need to do to control that vegetation on there.
What are they using? Roundup?
No, it's not Roundup. I don't know. They won't divulge the actual name. I have requested what the name of the pesticide is, but they have assured me it's not Roundup, and it's not, generally speaking, detrimental to one's health. I suppose they do put up signs. They'll spray this Thursday, and I think Wednesday they put up the signs informing people that it's going to happen in the event of anybody that has any kind of asthma or breathing problems or whatever. Might not be an idea to be down there when they come by and start spraying the area.
Why won't they tell you what it is?
I don't know whether BNSF feels it's a safety concern or what, but...
Well, it's your city. You should know what's there, and most cities have banned the use of dangerous chemicals for controlling weeds.
Well, that's true. Except with the exception, what happens more often than not, and I did some work years ago at the Pesticide Free Coalition, and we made a little bit of headway, but for instance, in the city of Surrey, they still will not back off the use of pesticides on their property, i.e. parks and city-owned property and that. So, it's one of those things, and I think it's been proven that there is a distinct level or a direct level between pesticides and the incidence of childhood cancer in young children.
Well, yes, there's a cancer linked to the chemical Roundup. So anything that's related to it. They don't say it causes cancer, but they say it might.
Yes, I'm not sure. I'll keep asking the questions. Yeah. I may be down there actually I'll be out of town on Thursday, but I'll be asking our director of operations when he's back in town today to see if he's actually been informed of what the product is that they're using on there.
Well, yes, I know railways come under federal jurisdiction, but that's not an excuse.
Well, they actually don't even come under federal. The Railway Act in Canada is what governs railways.
Right.
To the best of my knowledge and from my interpretation of the Railway Act in Canada, it was created to join this country with a ribbon of steel from east to west, and the government of the day made a deal with the railway companies, basically saying X amount of feet either side of that train track is yours to do with whatever you want.
Well, we saw CP being a horrible neighbor, ripping up all the community gardens along the railway in the Arbutus district of Vancouver. Now they've had a settlement with the city, to sell the property. But, just ripping up stuff to be a bully. They didn't intend to use the tracks. I think railways just have a different attitude when it comes to public relations. We'll just do whatever the hell we want And what are you going to do about it?
Well, and basically that's exactly what the Railway Act allows them to do.
Well, they're not acting nice. Tell them they should try, using the word Canadian. Yeah, we're polite people.
I'll get that message to them.
Yeah. You're also concerned about how politicians raise money in British Columbia.
Yeah, well, this is, we touched on that a little bit on Saturday. There's guidelines of political donations. They obviously all have to be made public, at least at the civic level. They can be given by a numbered company. There's no limit on how much any one person or organization or corporation gives in a donation. So I don't know that we'll see any changes anytime soon. It seems to me that the majority of elected officials like to keep the system exactly the way it is. And I don't agree with it. I think that I've beaten that almost like a dead horse here in White Rock, that in a community this small, I do believe, and I think I'm living proof, that an individual can run as an independent. In a larger area, i.e. Surrey, Vancouver, quite a different story. But I think the majority of the elected districts in British Columbia, certainly at the civic level, fall not too far off of the White Rock area size and population. So I don't know what the answer is. I know that people have stated, thrown around the number that to run in Surrey, you need to have at least $100,000 at your disposal for signs and putting together a team. That's just to get into the game. The ruling party in Surrey now, Surrey First, spent well over $1 million, I believe $1.2 million last election. How does the average independent, go up against that? Virtually impossible. And to that extent, it may be a while before Surrey or Vancouver, for that matter, ever see an independent councillor elected.
How concerned were the people you talked to on Saturday?
Well, I think that they were concerned. They kind of shake their head at it. Somebody brought up, and I've subsequently read the article about Alberta Premier Rachel Notley that came under fire for this shortly after being elected, and kind of twisted and turned and dodged the question. But it seems that she's now at least maybe begrudgingly moving forward with some type of legislation that's going to curtail that wild spending. I'm not sure. I don't know that much about it, but I think people, at least the people that come to the community conversation, they're more interested in what's happening on the street in our community. So we don't normally venture off into, at least nobody seemed to have brought it up as a major topic that they wanted to have discussed at length. It was just kind of an off-the-cuff mention, and people put their opinion forward. And
we'll have more with David Chesney right after the break.
I'm Larry Ray, President and CEO of American Manganese, Inc., listed on the TSX Venture, ticker symbol AMY, A-M-Y, with proprietary patents in the U.S., China, and South Africa. Our focus is on recycling lithium-ion batteries for electric vehicles. China recently legislated the responsibility for recycling onto their electric vehicle manufacturers and importers. For more information, please visit AmericanManganeseInc.com or phone me, Larry Ray, at 778-574-4444.
Welcome back. We're speaking with David Chesney. David, in light of the Fort McMurray fire emergency, what kind of emergency plan does White Rock have?
Well, I've been asking that question for a few months now, and I've been led to believe that in the next 60 days, the fire chief will be coming forth with a full report. There was, I think last week might have been Emergency Preparedness Week, because I noticed over in Ocean Park in the Crescent Beach area, they had a community hall event where people were encouraged to come and learn as much as they can about emergency preparedness. I can't tell you right now that we have a distinct, where people in a very short order. Now, if we had a major disaster and lost all power, certainly the city's website may be down. So I think that we need to make sure that people have the information. I mean, I think everybody is, well aware that they should have a backpack ready to go with, the very basics, and it's not too hard to find that online. But in regards to White Rock in specific, I think the big concern for me and most residents are that rail line that we have running through our waterfront. That could be the source of a disaster in our community, as opposed, and it could be brought on by an earthquake, but it could also be brought on just simply by a derailment of that train. Could definitely put the people in White Rock in grave danger and in peril. So I think we need to do a much better job, my personal opinion, of informing people in the event of an emergency. Here's what you need to do. Immediately evacuate. There will be marshalling areas at Centennial Park, or direct people where to go, as opposed to just get in your car and drive like hell.
Well, I mean, things as simple as a windsock along that rail line. If they have a chemical disaster, you have to know which way the wind is blowing.
Well, I guess to that extent, we do have a big flagpole with a flag at the end of the pier, which one can always tell which way the wind is blowing.
Yeah, it's not really official, though, is it?
No.
No. And I think Fort McMurray, what a great job the emergency personnel have done. To evacuate 88,000 people without any loss of life or serious injuries, with a wildfire out of control right in the heart of your city. That has just got to be one of the best examples, I think, of people doing the right job at the right place in the right time. It was scary, of course, but whatever plan they had, it worked.
Well, I agree. Watching some of the footage that people have posted up on social media and that are absolutely shocking. To take your breath away to watch people fleeing in their vehicles along the side of a highway where you've got flames that are 80 to 100 feet high, raging right along the side of the highway. The heat must have been absolutely unbearable, and, the fire was jumping the highways. I mean, they did evacuate a lot of people from what I understand, the north end of town. They sent them north. So I'll be interested when this is all over, said and done with. You're right. I think we can absolutely learn. Did they just get lucky, or did they have a plan in place? I have to think there was some form of plan in place.
Well, we have to rely on private vehicles. That's what this really showed. If you're a senior citizen who relies on public transit, I think you still might be in the heart of the fire.
Good point. Good point. It's not something that crossed my mind, because, of course, I have a vehicle, and my mind wouldn't have gone to how would I get out of here in the event of an emergency. Certainly a vehicle would be my first choice, and walk, run, ride your bicycle would be the next ones. I wouldn't count on transit to try to evacuate, but again, you make a very good point, and this is something that perhaps we need to include into our emergency response of, will TransLink immediately cease service? And if that's the case, we need to make people aware of that, and those that don't have their own transportation to start to set up some form of buddy system where people can register their names and phone numbers, and ahead of time, if Mary that lives down the street and is an elderly lady and has no way of transporting herself out of here, she could possibly, enter into the database and set up a buddy system whereby, if something like that happened, my first call would be to Mary and make sure she's okay and make arrangements to get to her and get her to a safe place.
Yeah, and you can do that, I guess, too, on your local community basis. If you're in block watch or part of a condo, yes, we should have a list. Who's who and who would need help.
Well, you're absolutely right. Some condos are a little better. The condo I'm in has 40 residents. I probably know 3 of them by name. I'm a pretty magnanimous kind of person, but even at that, people tend to want to, keep to themselves. I don't see a lot of, hey, we're going to have a summer barbecue this Saturday, everybody bring a dish and meet down in the common area. I'd like to see more of that. If I didn't have so much on my plate, maybe I'd organize one of those things. But, you're right. There is a definite area there that even in each condo they could put up a notification on the board, because we do have some seniors in my building, and not knowing whether or not they're able to get out should be of some concern to me and my fellow residents.
Let's talk about the man who has come out of nowhere in the presidential race in the United States, Donald Trump. He was in Linden, Washington, so a next-door neighbor for you in White Rock. What's your impression of Donald Trump?
Well, not very much, to be very honest. It's a lot of baffle-gab. Again, I've stated time and time again here, I don't have a television set, so I don't get to watch much of it other than just the quick little sound bites that end up on the internet. I do hear a lot of people talking about it. Most people seem to be very consumed by it. But I think that, it was quite shocking to me and I've got posted up some of the pictures on the White Rock Sun of his rally in Linden, where it was announced that it was the largest gathering ever at the Northwest Washington Fairgrounds. It was absolute pandemonium. People waited 2 to 3 hours to get into the facility, and the fellow that supplied the pictures for me, Bob Douglas, a friend here in White Rock that went down to the event, one of the things that really stuck with him was the heavy presence of all levels of state troopers, militia, of emergency response vehicles. He said it really did add to a feeling of tension at the event. I don't know. I suppose one might assume that as a person as controversial as Mr. Trump, perhaps there's constant threats on his life. I've never been to a presidential rally in America, so I don't know whether such a heavy military presence is just commonplace. But that was something, being a Canadian, to go across the border, and it's only literally 6 miles across the border from us here to Linden, to see that kind of basic big war machine moving through your community.
Yeah, quite an eye-opener. Well, look at every president of the U.S. has had assassination attempts on them.
Has Barack had an assassination attempt?
Well, what happens is the Secret Service, as much as they make fun of them for hiring prostitutes and stuff in South America when they travel, they are pretty good at sussing out, possible plots. You never hear about them.
Well, I was just going to say, that's not something that you normally want to publicize, because all that does is plant the seed of thought out there, and someone else that might be a little left to center or teetering on, manic depression or whatever, may be motivated to just think, well, this is the tack that I should take.
Well, don't forget too, Americans and their love affair with weapons, with handguns. I mean, in Texas, it's now legal to walk into the state legislature with a handgun. You don't have to go through the metal detector.
Pretty scary.
That's very scary.
The other thing that I thought, and I mentioned to you, I actually watched Cairo TV, or King TV actually streamed his speech live, and when he opened up asking the people right off the bat how they felt living near a border where people had unfettered access to just walk back and forth, I thought, okay, well, this might be interesting to see, how such a hot local topic is dealt with. But he just moved right on from that. There was really that speech could have been given anywhere. Could have been Fort Lauderdale, could have been Dallas, Texas, could have been Denver, Colorado. There wasn't really anything other than just constant hammering of make sure this is how you've got to fill out your delegate ballot, you've got to check this, you've got to do that. That seemed to be the big thing that they were really hammering home numerous times, reiterating to people that this is how you have to do it. You have to check this box. If you don't check this box, it's not a valid vote. So, in that sense, I was disappointed, but I didn't expect much out of him anyways, to be very truthful.
Well, people who've done business with Donald Trump tell me the person that you're seeing in the presidential campaign is not the person you do business with. He's a totally different person in private. In other words, he's just playing this, You know, shucks, golly gee, I'm just one of you kind of people. He's not.
Well, it's long on let's make America great again. Outside of getting rid of all the terrorists and ridding the country of Obamacare, there's not, and he has no idea what he's going to replace it with that I've seen. But again, I'm not probably the one to judge him because I've only seen snippets. I don't know that I haven't seen that he's put forward a clear platform of if he's elected, this is what he'll do. He's just taken a bunch of hot button items and said, I'll take care of that. I'll make sure the jobs don't go to China and Mexico anymore. Okay, well, how do you plan on doing that?
Yeah, well, I'd like to live on the moon. How am I going to do that? Very short on details.
Well, in the media, we talked about this before. The media, he knows how to play the media like a violin. He's absolutely brilliant at that. Long before whatever that I'm the boss, you're fired reality show or whatever. The man has been, he's just been a sponge for the media. They just wake up every day and he throws out a piece of fresh meat for them to chew on. And, as a result of that, I don't know. I mean, people, everybody I talk to, they just, God, how long is this election going on? We know they don't vote till November. Somewhere between our 3-week campaigns and their 18-month campaigns, there must be a happy medium somewhere.
Yeah, well, I think people are so burned out from all the election talk, they don't bother to vote. I think, with a battle between Trump and it looks like Hillary, it's going to be a very interesting election. I think people will show up.
Well, I hope they do. I hope for our sake because, I look out my window and look across Semiahmoo Bay and there they are. It's, and that was again, I wasn't even aware till Friday, when my friend Bob mentioned to me that he was going down to Linden to see Trump. I wasn't even aware that he was coming here into our neck of the woods. I don't know how widely publicized that was. I really don't know, but just, the fact that, it's one thing to watch that circus happen in a land far, far away, but when it comes rolling up to your front door, but that's why I say I was very interested to see if he was going to be area specific. I didn't get any of that in the speech, and I watched the entire speech. It was just add the name of the town here.
David, thank you very much for chatting with us.
Jim, my pleasure, and good luck with your venture here in White Rock and anything that I can do personally or the White Rock Sun. I'd be more than happy. I hold you in high regard as well as Delaney Rose, so I think you've got a couple of very strong people, and we'll be talking to you much more about that, and we'll talk to you next month.
My guest has been David Chesney, White Rock City Councillor and editor of the White Rock Sun. You're listening to the Goddard Report on TalkDigitalNetwork.com. Find us on Twitter at TalkDigitalNet. Comments or questions for the show can be sent to info@HowStreet.com. I'm Jim Goddard. Thanks for listening.
Comments made on the Goddard Report and TalkDigitalNetwork.com are an expression of opinion only. The Goddard Report is available online and mobile at TalkDigitalNetwork.com. The Goddard Report is a production of How Street Media Incorporated.